The ex-Bosnian Serb military chief Ratko Mladic is finally facing justice for his part in the biggest massacre in Europe since the Second World War, the Srebrenica genocide. Mladic has been facing the UN War Crimes Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, or the ICTY, since his arrest in 2011. The ICTY is one of several such courts. But how do these international courts work, and are they really effective? There are three main international courts in The Hague. The ICJ, commonly referred to as the World Court, precedes the other two courts and was set up in 1945 to replace the UN's Permanent Court of International Justice. Its scope is limited to cases revolving around sovereignty, boundary and maritime disputes, trade, natural resources, human rights and treaty violations, making it a court of nation states and UN members. But there's a catch. If, for example, you're Egypt and the court finds you at fault for a boundary dispute, you can just ignore the verdict, exercise the sovereignty principle and not accept the court's jurisdiction. Obviously, this makes enforcing any verdict difficult, since the ICJ can only try nation states. Also, its jurisdiction does not reach individuals, private companies and organizations. And on top of that, any permanent member of the UN Security Council can veto the ICJ's decision, making it almost impossible for the court to try countries such as Russia or the US. The ICC, on the other hand, was only set up in 2002, and its sole purpose is to try individuals accused of war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity. But the ICC has come under more criticism than others, and has continually been accused of having an Africa bias, a label the court struggles to shrug off, considering 9 of the 11 active cases are looking at crimes committed in Africa. Now, this is not to say that those crimes do not warrant an investigation, but the argument is, surely Africans aren't the only ones committing crimes against humanity. Iraqis, Palestinians, and now Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar will tell you that much. And anyone hoping to see an American brought to justice will be interested to know the US's suitably titled Invade the Hague Act, which forbids the US from cooperating with the ICC in cases that involve American nationals.
Well, the International Criminal Court is troubling to the United States.
But the biggest shortcoming of the court is its reliance on nation states. Because for the ICC to get anyone in custody, they have to be handed over for trial, a move which rarely happens if the government in power refuses. It took years of international pressure and negotiations for Serbia to finally cooperate with the ICTY and hand over Mladic. All these restrictions make the court ineffective at deterring world leaders from committing crimes against humanity. Effectively, the ICC has its hands tied behind its back and is overly dependent on cooperation from sovereign states, many of which might not want to see these crimes coming to court at all. It's not their fault. These shortcomings are mostly due to the nature of international law and the superiority of national sovereignty over international bodies. Mladic, though, is facing the ICTY, a court that was set up specifically to target those accused of crimes during the war that took place in modern-day Serbia, Croatia, and Bosnia. It too has been accused of falling short. Many people say that the court has handed down light sentences, and the detention center, which houses those standing trial at the ICTY, has been criticized for its comfort and relative luxury, with some calling it the Hilton Hague. Whatever happens to Mladic, let's hope that justice prevails in The Hague, the international city of peace and justice.